Welcome into what's going to be a absolutely fun edition of the Opening Kickoff Podcast. If you can't tell by the hat, folks, watching us on YouTube right now, we're going to the South this week. We're going to the NFC South to talk about the Panthers, the Buccaneers, the Falcons, and the Saints. We have all our guys are here with us. Duane Clemons, former defensive lineman with the Vikings, Chiefs, and the Bengals, is here with us. He's got the gold gyms, tank top on. Looks like he might have just worked out. Oh, he's flexing the pecs right now.
You see all that, right? You see all that. You know.
He's feeling himself. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you for that rousing introduction. Always ready to put a show on.
Well, we're gonna have a show this week. I got my guy, former NFL offensive lineman with the Ravens and the Saints, very convenient this week, and former Ed Block Courage Award recipient. That would be Wally Williams is here. Wally, great to see you, sir.
Always a pleasure, buddy. Always a pleasure getting riled up with you.
It is, and really, this is the moment, and I think it deserves a round of applause. We talked about this last week. Our guy could not be here.
Yes.
But he's back. We can't see him. He's still recovering. He's got the face for radio this week. It's okay. But our guy, Duane Brooks, is back with us. Round of applause for DB returning.
Right
there he is.
PUP, off a pup.
Thank you, guys. Good to be back. Good to be back.
We are happy to have you. And you know what? Since you're back, you got us the guy that's guest hosting with us this week. I think you do the introduction here.
No problem. I want to welcome to the Egg Block CourageCast a very good friend of mine, Mississippi Valley State University Hall of Famer, defensive back, former Indianapolis Colt, former Cincinnati Bengal, former New Orleans Saint, former Atlanta Falcon and Kansas City Chief, defensive back, my good friend Ashley Ambrose. Let's welcome him to the cast this week.
Ambrose!
Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
What's up, man?
What's up? Can y'all hear me?
What's going on, brother?
Loud and clear, man.
Good. How y'all doing, man? Y'all looking good.
We doing better now. We got Ashley Ambrose on here, man. It's so hard to be a Bengal.
Tell me about
I know you know.
You already know.
You know what it's like.
I know.
We got to get you on our group chat. You know, the Bengals, we got a group chat, Ashley.
Okay.
We got like Corey Dillon, Chad, Willie Anderson.
I love to be in there.
The Keo Spikes. We got all the old Bengals on there.
Oh, yeah. That's money. We got to definitely link up. Got
you. Well, I'll let David get to work since I know he want to handle business instead of just let us chit-chat.
No. We have plenty of time. We have plenty of time tonight to have some fun here. We do have John Michaels from 680 The Fan in Atlanta joining us a little later in the program to break down the Atlanta Falcons. So we're going to get to talk about the three other teams in the NFC South. But again, we have a great guest on who's guest hosting with us. So let's talk a little bit about this here, about you, Ashley. And let's start with this. DB says, hey, you're coming on this CourageCast, and now you see this whole panel that you're sitting with here tonight. What's going through your head right now?
Hey, you know what? I'm enjoying this, man. Just looking at my guys and seeing them. You know, I'm just glad to be part of it. I'm glad to be a part of this. So this is truly an honor and a blessing to be on the podcast, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for blessing us, brother.
All of us cross paths on this podcast right here at some point. Okay, all of us cross paths. All right, so like I know. See, me and Ambrose go back to college. All right, we played against each other in college. All right, they came to Jacksonville. All right, we played them. All right, then we were teammates in New Orleans. All right, I'm gonna take Ambrose back to this one right quick right here. We can go back to this one right here. Ambrose, remember we was in camp. All right, it was in Wisconsin, which we're trying to figure out why the hell are we
Cheese League.
Why go to Wisconsin? No.
Why are we in Wisconsin? We the Saints.
Yeah.
We scrimmage Kansas City.
Yep.
Oh, I remember those days.
Hey,
it was always a fight.
Fight, stop the practice, okay? The whole deal like that. Ambrose, tell him, hey, that's what we did. That was normal protocol for our training camps back in the day.
It was.
Wally, y'all used to come to Mankato and do Minnesota too, right?
Yes, we came there with
I remember going against y'all for both because I was with the Chiefs and with the Vikings.
Yeah.
And I remember the Cheese League was real. The Cheese League was everything.
The Cheese League was real.
Real, yep, it was real. I've done both. I've done the even did the River Falls with Kansas City when I was in camp.
Yeah, River Falls.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of it all. Lacrosse. It was I've been through it, baby.
It's like talking about different hoods. Mankato, Lacrosse, River Falls.
Right.
Compton Watts.
Yeah.
Training camp hoods. Thibodeau.
Don't mention that.
Back when training camp hey, do you remember training camp used to be pad, shorts, pad.
Right.
Yes. Oh, Lord. Yes. Don't mention Thibodeau.
I remember my rookie year, we went the first 2 weeks straight pads, and it was like 2 a days, and it was pads. That's what it was before you even got a break.
I used to pray to God he would kill Coach. Like, please, God, take him tonight. Take him, please. The bad man must be stopped. Only you can do it. Call him home, sir. Call him home.
I was wondering. It had me thinking, like, man, do I really want to do this?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if y'all went to a Dick Vermeil camp, but that was his whole point. He wanted a mutiny.
Yeah.
Dick would try to get you to. He's like, man, I ain't happy unless y'all all want to kill me.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, now the fans out there can hear about the real PSDs that we old athletes go through about our training camp days.
Yeah. Oh,
real training camp when it was real 2 days.
It was. I don't know what they're doing right now. But it ain't training camp. I'll tell you that. No.
They ain't never heard that horn go off at 5 a.m.
No, not at all. One bit.
They probably get a gentle shake. Excuse me. Hello. I'd like you to come out to the field now.
Practice. Can we walk through today this morning?
Yeah. Need help with your socks? I'll put them up for you. There you go. We'll get your pads on. Here you go.
Oh, my God. You
want a juice box to go? Go. Take a juice box. Must be nice to have all this pampering.
Y'all too funny, man. Yep. Dying laughing out here.
All right, so what's your favorite memory of DB working with Duane Brooks over here? Because we always love hearing these stories.
Oh yes. Tell us about the gun line, boss. I know Duane used to sit on the gun line.
Oh no.
As a player, you get mentally prepared, get focused, you get your game face on. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna go out and kick some tail. I'm about to get out here. I'm gonna show this dude across from me like I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Gonna have a long day. And so me and Duane, we would go out every week. He'd see me, we'd come in, I'd go to him and Reg, my boy Reggie Stone, and be like, hey man, these trainers don't want y'all today, dog. Just like them trainers. Oh, man. He would get that serious face on and be like, you right. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to go look him dead.
Show us the game face.
I'm going to show him how our tape jobs are. I'm going to show him how we do it over here. And, man, it was the funniest thing because he would go out there. He would come back in. He was like, oh, they intimidated. They shook. They take.
Yeah. They got Clemens facts out there.
The players ain't ready for us. They players not ready for us because they scared. They shaking.
They're not even hydrating them properly. See, my mentality was, I know I'm working for a team and I'm there to provide a service for a team, but I always believe that there's a team inside a team.
Oh yeah.
So the athletic training staff is a team as well. So on the weekends, on Sundays, it was our training staff versus theirs. So whoever the other team's training staff was, I wasn't friends with them on Sunday. So, I pregame, I shake hands and all that kind of stuff. But but my thoughts was like, I want to slap the water bottle out of their hand while they was,
That whole thing
stab
about
them with
DB.
my scissors if I could, give them a little shank with the scissors if I walk by or something
shit.
like that.
Oh,
So,
prison part.
when we go out for the huddle and we're watering down each other team doing the timeouts, we would talk to each other, talk a little trash, back and forth. So that was always my mentality, to try to hate the other team's athletic training staff.
I mean, but
I took it serious.
Hey, but DB,
I was serious.
DB, I need you to talk about your impact. Me and you talked about this offset. Okay, you've had 2 impact situations that changed Super Bowls. We talked about one of them.
Oh no.
Talk about one of the Super Bowl. We want to hear about the impact that you had with the Saints' first Super Bowl win. Okay, the impact as a athletic trainer that you had to win that game.
You showed Brady, didn't you? You showed Brady how to win them, huh?
Well, I mean, it was, the Indianapolis Colts, their athletic training staff, was, kind of talking a little noise pregame and all that stuff. It was a friend of mine named Brian Ball. He was an assistant with the Indianapolis Colts, and they would just talk noise and all that kind of stuff. And it started the week of the Super Bowl. Like when we first got there, the first night we went out,
Mm-hmm.
the next day was media day. So that was like a free night. So everybody went out and hung out, and we were in this club, and across, I noticed the Indianapolis Colts team was just checking us out, So I went over and I saw, was it Bethea, the free safety at the time from Howard.
Right.
I went and introduced myself.
They always got beat. Howard always got beat.
Right.
Did you
I
give him the what's
introduced
up?
myself to him, told him I was from FAMU and all of that. And I said, well, where's Brian at? He said, Brian's in, he's in the hotel. I said, you tell Brian to get his punk, blah, 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 out here in the street so we can hang out, so I can get him drunk and all that kind of stuff, so he won't be able to focus on Sunday. So, it started during the week, but I think the real reason why the Saints won, because the better medical staff won, because I had their medical staff shook myself.
Oh yeah.
See?
Oh yeah.
I had them shook. So that in itself brought us a ring to New Orleans. I felt I had something to do with that.
We need to write a book about this.
Yes.
There you go.
The untold stories of the Saints Super Bowl.
Now,
And if that didn't work, would you go cut him?
no, no, right. I mean,
Cut their shirts with the
if I could get over on their sideline pregame and pour a little something in the cooler or something, anything I could do to get an upper hand,
I had to hold it back. Dog,
Ashley had to hold me back a couple
you just
times.
don't understand. When he was gonna squeeze the water in your mouth, he was staring at the other team.
The DMX,
Yes.
DMX of trainers,
That's
Duane
true.
Brooks.
That is true.
That's how
That was true.
he
That
intimidated.
was true. I intimidated a lot of athletic trainers. I did.
Hammer
There
and
you
them
go.
in Indianapolis.
Man, y'all should have had the collar on him, man. Walk him out on the chain, like, okay, watch out, watch him.
That's what we should have did.
That's not a bad look.
There you go.
They should have put that over the PA system, just that dog growling. Duane Brooks
Little
in the house.
Little DMX. Yeah, I listened to a little DMX before the game.
Oh, yeah.
Did you hit
Got
the
to.
smelling
On the bus
salts?
ride to the stadium.
Oh, yeah. See, I like it when my trainer hit the salt. He hit me with the salt. He hit the
Yeah.
salt, too.
I used to hit the salt big time. I was hitting salt in Baltimore in 18. They was looking at me like I was crazy. So they was all new school. So I'm
Right.
like,
told them
man,
they ain't ready.
hey,
You
gotta hit
ready?
that
They
salt
ain't
before
ready.
the game. Gotta get your mind right.
I love
yeah.
all of this.
Oh, yeah.
We got 13 minutes into the pod this week before we've completely gone off the rails. I think that's the longest it's been in a while before. And Ashley
It's all
Ambrose is
true,
just
though.
sitting there
It's all
going,
true, Dave.
I believe
was a
all
little
of
crazy
this.
Pregame. I really was. I was in the zone.
Here's why I believe this, because we're sitting out there last year at the Super Bowl. You and I are sitting there on Radio Row. Wally wasn't out there yet. DC, we hadn't met yet. And like as we're like, we don't have anybody. You're just eyeballing all the other setups. It was the funniest thing. Like, and he's got this stern look on his face the whole time as he's watching like these other shows do it. And I kept like, I wanted to ask you, and I never did, but I kept going like, is he like rating the competition right now? Is he like looking at the other shows, like
Game face.
judging what they're doing?
Game face. Show us the
I was
game
probably
face.
trying to psych them out too.
The
I was
best part
trying
is
to punk some of the other podcasts.
the best part is right across from us is Omaha Productions and ESPN, and here we are. We're sitting there with our guys, and we look over, and there's like Josh Allen getting interviewed. Like, here's Duane just in like full locked in gaze on him, and I'm like, I might want to go fight like Kevin Clark of ESPN right now. Like, I don't. So now that explains a lot of things that I did not know about you.
Yes.
Well, David, next year we're gonna get some respect. Wait till DC come to Radio Row. We about to get some respect.
Uh-oh.
Dwayne, we got you. We got you. You got another dog with you. We're gonna.
There you go. That's what I like.
We're all gonna end up on McAfee. That's what I hear.
And whatever it takes to make this show great.
I look forward to it.
There's no bad publicity, right, Dave?
There's only good people. Look, there's good content. That's all I'll say. There is good content, good publicity for the program.
Actually, I need you to come off the top rope with that people's elbow like Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Oh, I sure will. Superfly Snuka style, baby.
And the dangerous part, the Super Bowl is in New Orleans this year.
I know.
Oh, yeah. So we got to have him on his full cape.
It's my city, baby. It's in my.
Hey, ain't nothing but vets on this show in New Orleans, baby. Nothing but vets here.
Hey, Ashley, does that mean you taking us to Dookie Chase?
All of
We
it.
about to go get some Dookie Chase, Dave. What you know about Dookie Chase?
Everybody
I know
on
nothing.
this podcast, everybody. Well, you got 3 guys on this podcast that know every bit of New Orleans. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, that's something you don't have to worry about. I grew up there, born and raised.
I'm not worried.
That's right. He's born in New Orleans. He's from
born
New
and
Orleans.
raised.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Forgot about that. He's from there. All right, vets.
Cheese.
And I am not at all worried. Just so everybody knows listening to this, we all go out to the Super Bowl and we sit on Radio Row for a couple of days. And I promise we're actually going to talk about the NFC South here in a minute. But we all go out to the Super Bowl, sit on Radio Row, do a bunch of interviews. I am not any concern about what happens in New Orleans. I just wonder whether I will ever leave New Orleans and go back. That's the thing.
I want to make an announcement right here on the show, right here on the podcast, the Ed Block podcast right now. All right. If we all get together in New Orleans, which we probably will, the guys right now on this podcast, right here today, we get together in New Orleans, Dave will end up naked before the night is over.
Oh, shit.
You know what?
Okay.
I can see that happen.
You know what I'm saying? That's just how that's what New Orleans do to you, man. Okay,
It does.
I'm just
David Steinwedel. David Steinwedel, you gonna be out here flashing everybody? Oh. You can get away with that, David. I don't think me and Wally can get away with that.
Yes, fools.
Right.
Yeah. No, that ain't no joke. That's a weapon. He out here trying to give people hysterectomies. Watch out. I see him coming. I just want to know who want to make that arrest on me and Wally.
It's on and popping. We're gonna make that attempt. Okay,
come on, back to back, Wally.
Live and direct.
They can't get us down, Wally.
Oh my! Full tilt. Okay. Hey, stay tuned.
We're gonna need that bail money. I know you know somebody.
Already promoting it. Stay tuned for Super Bowl week.
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna make Duane Brooks famous. He's gonna be a household name.
What is
all right.
What is wrong with you guys, man?
We have a great time on this show, Ashley. You're gonna learn, man.
Yes.
You gotta come back.
I love it.
I'm waiting for him to be like, man, y'all some crazy motherfuckers. I don't know if I want to do this show again. Y'all gonna get me in trouble.
He already know. He already know. Ashley already know.
I already know, dog.
Right.
Should we have a disclaimer on this show after dark or something like that?
Hey,
Yes, sir.
you got me crying over here, man.
Yes, sir.
My eyes are tearing up, man. Oh my gosh.
Well, Ashley, I know if my Chiefs win the Super Bowl in New Orleans, me and you, we got to do something crazy.
Oh, I sure would do it. I sure would do it. Don't
So
don't
I would be very careful what I agree to right here because this is evidence that will come back later. Notice that I did not agree that I would do what was just said that was going to happen.
Come on, Dave. You're in the pros now, Dave.
We all know. Look, I'm going to be totally honest. I'm going to throw him under the bus because he's not on this show. We know there's a good possibility of who it might be.
Oh, yeah.
We know who that person might be that does it. He's not here right now, but we all know the guy that we're talking about.
We all know who's very capable.
That's right. It's not going to take much to convince him.
Right.
I'm going to need a lot more liquor before I even consider doing that.
Well, who knows, David? If you can't run fast, we might pants you. Who knows? We're going to see if we can get those knees up. Come on, I'm going to be fair. You got 100 yards, David. And then we coming for you. We're going to see if you got the pursuit.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to lose. That's how that's going to play out is I'm going to lose. Okay. We do have to talk about the NFC South because this is an NFC South preview pod. There's no easy segue out of talking about getting pantsed in New Orleans, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's start with the team that I think we all can agree, and it's no knock on this organization, but Carolina is going to be at the bottom of this NFC South. I think there's so many questions with this team. When you guys look at Carolina, what do you make of their situation heading into the season?
I don't know what to make of their situation, to tell the truth. I mean, you have, what do you have? I mean, you have a bunch of guys coming over that's trying to upstart team. I don't have a marquee player that I can pretty much name over there. Hubbard is the starting running back, but where did he come from? You have at the receiving core. I can't really name a guy other than their first round pick out of South Carolina this past year, who's supposed to be very exciting and very a guy who, in a couple of years can be a good receiver. But, I just don't know anybody in Carolina, and it's not a team that I've even scouted, looked at. It's just not a team that anybody's expecting to be there. And like we all know, somebody got to pick first every year. Okay, nobody wants to come into the season saying we plan to pick first. All right, but somebody always in that category, and the Carolina Panthers could be in that category, picking very high again for next year.
I agree with you. I mean, they don't have. I mean, the quarterback and the receiver is really the only two people. I knew Hubbard, but they need some veteran leadership, some guys that can really play and help them. They need a lot. They need a lot of missing pieces, man. They have too many missing pieces. They'll be lucky to win 2-3 games. I mean, I don't see them really winning many games. It's gonna be a struggle. They got a young team, seem like it. New head coach. It's gonna be a long season for them.
They remind me of kind of like the Commanders and the Raiders when they had bad owners, because I feel like their team, it starts at the top. You have a bad owner, bad culture. I know you can hire new coaches, maybe hire a new GM, but sometimes I think that owner is just such a dark cloud over the whole chemistry of everything that you're trying to put together that I don't see how they get from under it until they possibly have to do something drastic and maybe possibly get this guy out of the way so that team can actually try to be good again. Yeah. He just doesn't seem like a good person to be over an organization. He doesn't seem to want to let go of the reins.
It'll be interesting to see if they can protect Bryce Young better this year. Hopefully he'll have a better year this year. New head coach coming from Tampa. Obviously, he has some inside stuff on what Tampa does. So other than that, I'm like you guys. I don't know a whole lot of people. They didn't make a whole lot of noise. They haven't made a whole lot of noise in the past few years. They haven't won the division in a long. I can't remember the last time they won the NFC South. So I'm not expecting a whole lot from them this year, not just in the division, but in the entire league. I think they're going to finish pretty bad this year.
Yeah, I also have to wonder, did Bryce Young's development get stunted last year with just how bad the roster was around him. As you mentioned, DB, the offensive line wasn't very good. His receivers were questionable. I think Dave Canales is a good offensive coordinator, but I think you're taking a gamble to have him be the guy to try to steer this ship with all these questions about this franchise, and sort of like DC said, in with an ownership group that's a little bit more, I don't want to say unstable, but decision making isn't always the sharpest for them. I think that'll be very interesting to see. So, are we all in agreement that it's going to be a pretty bad record for Carolina this year, and we can move on to the other two?
Oh, yes.
Barrel.
I would say
Single digits.
Yes.
All right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we'll save the Saints for last because a lot more people have a connection to the Saints, and we'll talk a little longer about them. But Tampa Bay, down the stretch, Baker Mayfield in fuego, getting the Buccaneers to the playoffs, beating the Eagles, then a really tough, hard-fought game against the Lions, came up short. But your odds on Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers this year, Wally, are what?
No, man. This Baker Mayfield thing, his ability to just his resurgence, I guess, because he went to 4 different teams in that span, and then all of a sudden ended up with the Bucs and them making it to the playoffs. I didn't see that one coming. I'm not going to lie to you. The Bucs are somewhat in that same area, but they have Mike Evans down there. They have Chris Godwin down there. They have a pretty solid offensive line that just gave Tristan Wirth a whole bunch of damn money. So obviously he's doing this damn job pretty good. I mean, and their defense has been stout. Their defense has been stout. And I think that's how they won games, mostly with their defense. And, look, I'm drawing a blank on my guys, the head coach there, but
Bowles. Todd Bowles.
Todd Bowles. I mean, Todd Bowles is a defensive guru. He's always been in that mode on every team he's coached. So, look, they're scary, and I'll say this. I don't know how scary they are in the NFL, okay, but they're scary in the NFC South.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think they will compete, and it won't surprise me if they win that division. Again, I think that's what a Bucs high scale is. They are very much capable of winning that division.
Baker Mayfield, he's intriguing to me. I think he's a guy that can play at a very high level. I don't think he's done it consistently over a whole season, but I think if he can not make mistakes and he can get hot towards the end of the season like he did last year, I agree with Wally. I think they can be contending for at least the division crown and definitely slide into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the same thing too. I think they could be a playoff team. Well, what's really interesting is Baker Mayfield has finally found a home. I think that has given him confidence.
Yeah.
Seeing him play at a different level than he played before. It's helpful too. I think he got a head coach that has a defense that's, like you said, pretty stout. That's going to help him. He got a defense that could help him as long as he don't make those mistakes. And he got a few weapons that could go get that thing for him. So I think he's going to ride that confidence, and he's going to come in and he's going to try to do the same thing. So they do have a chance to win this NFC South again. But it all depends on how they play, how he plays. Let me say that, how Mayfield plays this year once again.
Well, I agree with all of you guys. They can be back up there, 4th time winning the division in a row. They won it the past 3 years. Tampa, you guys know better than I do. It's not really the easiest place to go down and play, especially in September and October. It's pretty hot down there. So, if they can get rolling early, they're going to be tough to beat this year. They're going to be a contender in the NFC. And, even if they don't make the playoffs, I don't know if the NFC South is going to have 2 teams in the playoffs or not, but they could get in as a wild card. But regardless, they're going to be a tough out for anybody that they play. So I don't see them being a Carolina at all. I don't see them regressing. I see them only getting better this year. I see Baker getting better. It's another year with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So they can only get better, and the running game should get better. Todd Bowles is with the defense. They should get better. So I'm expecting a lot of great things out of Tampa. I've been talking to some of my people down there. I'm from Tampa, and they're talking a lot of noise. You know, the Bucs, da-da-da-da-da. We almost beat Detroit last year, all this kind of stuff. So it's high hopes coming out of Tampa. And I'm agreeing with everybody. I think they're gonna do fine this year. I really do.
The only thing that I could see holding them back was it felt like Baker Mayfield and Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator who we just talked about is now in Carolina, were really clicking. Can that happen again for Baker? Because we saw in Cleveland, it clicked for him a little while, I think with Freddie Kitchens. Then they get rid of Freddie Kitchens, and all of a sudden the regression starts for Baker. Then he's to Carolina. Then he's to the Rams. Then kind of gets settled in here in Tampa. You have a new offensive coordinator, and then now he's gone. Can he maintain that level with yet again another new offensive coordinator, or is there this sort of bit of a regression that we have seen in the past from Baker? That's the only thing I think that keeps Tampa Bay from winning this division, because pound for pound, they're the team with the most talent in the division.
I agree with you, Dave.
Yeah, I agree too.
So let's get.
I don't know if I agree with most talent in the division. I don't know.
They close. I mean, you know, they're gonna be pushing that with Atlanta now. Atlanta got some talent.
See, see, this is the anomaly. Go ahead, Dave. I'll let you go ahead and and tease this one, but.
Well, let's talk about, because I think the team you're talking about is the team we need to get to here is the Saints.
The Saints, man. I don't like the Saints quarterback situation. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I'm not a David Carr fan.
Derek Carr.
I'm sorry, David. His brother on NFL Network all the time. But I'm not a Derek Carr fan. I think for some of his better days he's had, I mean, look, he's more inconsistent than consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem that I see with him. You think a player of that's been in the league as long as he has kind of found his niche a little bit. I don't see that. I mean, I think the Saints offense is actually more exciting with Tyson Hill back there playing quarterback, and think he's going to run it and do whatever he's doing. Okay, I just don't, and maybe I don't. Look, we had you had Colston back there for a long time. It was just a number one receiver, that guy that you can count on. The Saints don't have that right now. Okay, even back in my day, you had Joe Horn, number one receiver.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints don't have that right now. You have capable guys, but it has not been established. So, is everything is contingent on, really, and is what's-in-the-face going to be suspended the first 4 games?
Who, Kamara?
Yeah, is Alvin Kamara suspended the first 4 games?
I have not heard anything that would say
that's a good question.
I didn't see him. I saw the list that came out. He wasn't on the initial list that came out of people who were going to be suspended.
I mean, look, the Saints have stayed in games the last about 2 or 3 years with defense. Okay, it's been all defense. And this is the post-Drew Brees era. It is all defense. That's how they stay in games. Offensively, they hang on, and that's how they function. So I really think the Saints are, a team that may be third place. I just don't see them. Maybe they make a stride this year until they get a quarterback, and who knows? Maybe our guy Rattler, maybe he steps up as the starting quarterback. Who knows?
I do like him.
I just think they need more leadership at that position.
Yeah, that's funny you said Rattler. I was going to bring that up. Like, man, I actually kind of like the younger guy than Carr. And obviously, being a Chiefs fan, I got to see Carr up close for a long time, and he just never really showed me that he had that it factor. And, they need a guy that's going to actually be able to win. And I don't even think he's a guy that's going to get you 10 wins. Like, at least like Cousins, I know he's not going to, necessarily light you up in the playoffs, or if it's a Monday night game, he might not show up in a big game, but he always gets you 10 wins. I don't even see Carr as a guy that can get you 10 wins. He just doesn't seem to have that level of talent.
I mean, I'm in agreement with both of you guys. Derek Carr, when he was throwing the ball, he was having good games. He was throwing it to Devontae Adams, who's one of the best receivers out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chris Olave, I think, is a really solid receiver. He's still young. I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. He's not at a Devontae Adams level. The other guy is what, the Shaheed kid?
Yeah, Shaheed.
22, the fast guy. Yeah.
Right.
They both undersized guys. They don't have that Michael Thomas guy. They don't have that big guy So I like when they throw in Taysom Hill. I do like that. It changes it up a little bit. It's a little bit more excitement. With him running the ball and a little bit of passing here and there. But Derek Carr has to prove to me why you've been playing so long. Show me that you can throw for 3,000, 4,000 yards with not many interceptions. He's still what should I say? He's still turnover prone. He'll turn the ball over. He can't get away from a rush. I mean, he better watch his back, because I believe Spencer Rattler has a little bit of that in him where he can avoid sacks. He could do a whole lot of different things. He could spin it. It's just about him, the speed of the game with him. So, yeah, I mean, I'm afraid of that offensive line. I don't know what that O-line, man, and everyone knows that when you have a solid O-line. I was here in Denver last year with Russell Wilson. That guy Russell Wilson, the future Hall of Famer, and he wasn't the same Russell Wilson. He didn't have anyone to protect him. And I could see that happening here in New Orleans, because that O-line ain't nothing like my dog Wally was. I could tell you that. It's nothing.
Suit up, Wally.
Yeah. I'm kind of nervous about what they do. I hope defensively Dennis Allen can get those boys right. They can get more turnovers, get the offense the ball a little bit more. But yeah, I'm a little skeptical on Derek Carr.
Well, just to start off, Dennis Allen's on the hot seat this year going in my opinion anyway. So he's under the gun to perform. He's been with the Saints for a few years and hadn't done a whole lot. He was with the Raiders as the head coach and didn't do a whole lot. So this is, he's had, a lot of opportunities as a head coach. They have a new OC, one of the Kubiak. So they looked a little bit different in preseason. I like the way they used Taysom Hill. They actually used him at fullback some, believe it or not, during the preseason, some of the games that I saw. And I know they didn't show them everything. They didn't show all the looks that, that Kubiak and those guys are planning on doing in the preseason, but they did show some different wrinkles. So hopefully that can kind of push them over a little bit. They had Pete Carmichael before, and without Sean Payton, that didn't work out at all. So, and I'm like you guys, as far as like a bell cow receiver, I was there working when Marcus Colston was there. I was there when Joe Horn was there. And none of these guys on the roster are even close to being a Marcus Colston or Joe Horn. So I can say. And it'll be interesting to see what they look like on defense. They are getting a little bit older on defense, even though they are solid. But the big question, just like Ashley said, is the protection in that offensive line. Because in the past couple of years, they've had a lot of injuries. And they also, just from a continuity standpoint, they haven't started all a bunch of times because everybody's been hurt on the O-line. So it'll be interesting to see if the O-line can hold up. If they can, they might make some noise. But I'm like you guys as far as Derek Carr. He's not the answer, in my opinion. He's going to need some help from other players on the team if they're going to elevate and have a better record and have a chance to contend in the South. But other than that, I don't know. I'm just like you guys. It's a mystery. I can't put my finger on what's going on.
I think the only thing that will save Derek Carr is the fact that Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator. Because if you always look at those types of schemes, and can those schemes match the quarterback skill set? And I think the reality is, if the Saints do what they have been reticent to do the last couple of years, which is run the ball, run through Alvin Kamara, and make him the focal point of the offense, the Saints will be fine. Because they have one of the top 5 running backs in football. But they've seemed to get away from that. And Derek Carr just isn't a quarterback that can win a game solely by himself.
Right.
I think we can all agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
And to do that, you need to have a run game. And if you look at the Kubiak system, it's always sort of been not maybe so much the zone scheme that like the Sean McVays of the world run. A little more power running style, which I think plays more to Alvin Kamara's strengths anyway. Give him that one hole to get to and really let him hit at other gear. I think that will benefit, but if they don't stick to the run, they're not going to be successful. Because that's what killed the Saints a lot of games last year was they were trying to rely on Derek Carr, and it wasn't working. Then they were putting the defense out on the field, and now the defense is another year older, and it's a good defense. It's not a great top 5 defense like they used to have. So now, again, you're asking a defense that's getting older to keep them close while the offense tries to find some sort of identity.
Yeah.
All right. Record predictions for the Saints, real fast before we take a breather, as we have our final team to talk about here.
Record Saints. I think the Saints are going to be one of those 500 teams. I'm going to say 7 and 10, 7 and 10, 8 and 9, right up in there.
I was going 8 and 9. I was going between 6 to 8 wins.
There you go.
That's what I'm thinking, 6 to 8 wins.
7-11 like the store.
I'm going I'm gonna take them at 6 wins. Because I just think they're not gonna do what they need to, which is stick to Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
7 and 10. They'll win 7.
7 and 10.
All right. Well, we are gonna take a breather. We have one final guest joining us on this podcast here in a moment to talk about the Atlanta Falcons, and then we will wrap this podcast up. Welcome back to the Ed Block CourageCast. And the cowboy hat is back on. I had to let the hair air out for a little bit.
Breathe a little bit.
It got to. Like, look, you wearing a cowboy hat, it's not as breathable. This one's actually pretty breathable. Mm-hmm. It's got little holes up here, so kind of nice to wear to country concerts. Dave Steinwedel, Wally Williams, DC DB, and Ashley Ambrose is our guest host this week. We were having some interesting off-air conversations as we get ready to talk about the Atlanta Falcons here. And somebody's phone buzzing. DC.
Sorry about that.
DC being a Cal guy, but the other 3 guys here on this panel are all from the SWAC conference. And you guys were just swapping some stories. And actually, you brought up something that I want to bring back up to here because I don't think we talk about the HBCUs enough, and they don't get the recognition they deserve. But you mentioned something about the toughness, and I'll open this up to the other Wally and Duane as well. But what is that toughness like playing in a conference like the SWAC?
Well, you have to be mentally strong to go through the things to be in a situation. For instance, I was in Mississippi and I was in the Delta, and it was always hot. It was muggy, a lot of mosquitoes. It was just, it was a grind fest. I mean, we was practicing 3 times a day. It was just, it made me mentally stronger. It made me so mentally strong that I used to look up to guys like Deion Sanders and guys like Barry Sanders and people like that at those big schools. And, it's like, man, I wish I was there. But at the same time, being at Mississippi Valley, it humbled me. It made me the person who I became. It made me the football player I ended up being. And I would say because of the hard work I put in, I was determined to be just as good as those guys. And I was like, I put a chip on my shoulders, like, you know what? I can be up there just like those guys as well if I put in that hard work. I know I'm not playing against everybody that's 6'5" and 300, but you know what? I'm in a tough league. We had a lot of good players during that time, and people like Walter Payton, Jerry Rice, Willie Totten, just people, you know, just to name a few, had been through that conference, and had paved the way and had made it to the NFL. And it was like, if they can do it, I can do it. What is it going to take? You know? So, yeah, it was just, you know, it mentally challenged me, and it helped me a lot throughout my career.
All right. Well, Wally, I don't mean to cut you off, but we did. We have our guest here with us. He is a host in Atlanta on 680 The Fan in Atlanta for the Atlanta Falcons. That would be John Michaels, kind enough to join us. John, you're on with Dave Steinwedel, former NFL defensive lineman Duane Clemons, Wally Williams, Duane Brooks, and Ashley Ambrose is hosting with us. Thank you for taking some time. How are you tonight?
It's great to see you guys. I'm with legends. I'm with guys that played in the league. I'm just a radio host that talks some football, but it's good to be on here and talk some NFL.
Awesome.
We are happy to have you on, and let's start with the big elephant in the room, which is that quarterback room, because there were some eyebrows raised about the fact that Michael Penix played in one preseason game and then didn't play the rest of the preseason. Are people reading too much into potentially a quarterback dilemma in Atlanta?
There's no dilemma. It's Kirk Cousins' team. I'm not going to lie. I was absolutely baffled by Raheem Morris's explanation after going down to Miami, having the scrimmage, and then Michael Penix got to play in preseason game number 1. He said, I'm good. I've seen enough. And then he came out afterwards and kind of doubled down, and he said, you know what? We did enough during the scrimmages. We've done enough during some of our workouts where we feel Michael Penix is ready, and we've seen everything that we need from him. Make no mistake, though, he's the number 2. And I think I just got an alert maybe 5 minutes ago. The Falcons actually traded away their number 3 quarterback, Taylor Heineke, to the LA Chargers. So they've only got 2 quarterbacks on the roster. Kirk Cousins is going to be the guy number 1. If all goes well, it'll be Michael Penix in about 2027. You're going to let him sit a couple of years like Jordan Love. You're going to have him go out and play in a couple of years. And if things go terribly wrong, just say the Achilles doesn't work for Kirk Cousins, then Penix will be break the glass and put him in. I like what I saw all the times that I was out at training camp and out at practice. I thought he looked really good. He looked exactly like he did at the University of Washington. The ball pops off his hand. You know, obviously played in a complex system under Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb. He can throw it everywhere, but he's a guy that's going to be a backup, hopefully, until 2027 after the Falcons make a couple of playoffs.
Here's what I want to know about that Falcon organization, because, you know, this is kind of taking a turn as far as I'm concerned from what it was after the draft. After the draft, we were like, who is Terry Fontenot, and why are they drafting a quarterback after getting – you pay Kirk Cousins $100 million, and what are we doing here? This organization doesn't know where they're going. Now you get Matthew Judon in the trade. Now we're talking about Super Bowl. So what has happened? Okay, what has happened between we don't know what Terry Fontenot is doing to now this team is on point here to make some noise in January and February in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll back up for Terry Fontenot. Terry came into a terrible position, and I got along great when I did radio for the Falcons with Thomas Dimitroff, our previous GM. Unfortunately, the owner, Arthur Blank, and Thomas Dimitroff had done too much Falcon for life. Let's pay Desmond Trufant. Let's pay Robert Alford. We'll give Deion Jones big money. Like, anybody that came up for a contract was going to be a top 5 player, and it left Terry in a horrible salary cap situation a few years ago. But I'm not going to lie, I was unbelievably baffled back in April when the 8th pick came, and I'm screaming, Dallas Turner, Dallas Turner. We need somebody that can come off the edge and knock a quarterback's head off. And they go, Michael Penix. I go, what? What are we thinking?
What are we doing?
Then you double down. You know, you go get Ruka Rororo, who was sort of a project in the 2nd round at defensive tackle. All the measurables, but never really showed up on film at Clemson. And you never addressed edge. And we went into training camp, and we were out there going, all right, we still don't know who's going to get the quarterback. Grady Jarrett, who's my dude, coming off a knee injury. You know, the other guys we have on the edge are just guys. You had lost Bud Dupree, who you didn't re-sign in free agency, and Calais Campbell. And out of nowhere, it's, oh, the Falcons traded for Matthew Judon. I said, what? The Falcons did what? I said, that is the most un-Falcon-like move ever. And then they double down 24 hours later and they go get Justin Simmons to shore up the safety position. So I give Terry Fontenot credit. He had a plan all along. He's told us, you know, we're not necessarily going to overspend money on different players. We're going to do whatever the hell we can to keep some cap space in case we need something. And that's exactly what he went out and did. I still think the Falcons are light defensively getting the quarterback on the ground. I love Judon. Arthur Bacchedi, a guy that you drafted in the second round a few years ago, had 6 sacks a year ago. He's your leading sack return guy, which will tell you how bad it was getting the quarterback on the ground. But you've at least addressed where you have one guy that offenses have to account for. Judon should be out there 800 plus snaps and probably get us 12 sacks this year. And in a crappy division, no offense, actually take offense. This division stinks outside of Tampa. The Falcons should be one of the favorites, if not the favorite.
Hey, John, you guys in Atlanta seem to be in the exact same position that I remember the Chiefs being in when we had Alex Smith. And I remember the fans being outraged when we first drafted Patrick Mahomes, kind of like, what the F? Man, we needed a tackle. We needed another receiver. So many things that we wanted to address. But then that ended up becoming the beginning of our dynasty. Do you feel like this decision this time is going to be you guys' Kansas City moment where now you guys are going to turn the corner and in 2 years you're going to see the fruition of this pick turning into hopefully the cornerstone of your franchise?
Man, I hope so. The only pushback I had for that, because we brought up Kansas City, we brought up Green Bay 2 times in the past, one with Jordan Love and the previous time with Aaron Rodgers, where you had a guy that could sit. The difference between the Falcons and the Chiefs and the Packers both were playoff teams before they made that move. We haven't been to the playoffs since 2017. Hell, I had dark colored hair at that time, and I was probably 20 pounds lighter in 2017. So that was the pushback there. But when you look at the weapons that they've acquired, Drake London, a first-round pick, number 8. Bijan Robinson, who's going to be electric at number 8. Kyle Pitts, who's finally healthy after 2 years of dragging around a knee. He's healthy and ready to roll. I think there are pieces in place. The O-line's kind of solidified. Lindstrom, Matthews, those guys are signed under contract. Caleb McGarry, still kind of iffy at the right tackle, but he's there for a couple of more years. If Penix turns into Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to be doing the bankhead bounce up and down Peachtree Street when they win a Super Bowl in a couple of years.
They definitely have the talent. Definitely have the talent. And you know what? I mean, I was in New Orleans when Terry was there as well. And I mean, you're right. He had some tricks up his sleeve. He knew what he was doing. And at first I was baffled when they drafted the kid Penix, but then I thought about it after a while, because I'm like, well, if you think about it, if Cousins don't come back from this and something freaky does happen, you need somebody to step up for you. And you'll need somebody, that was probably one of the top quarterbacks in this past draft. And I thought that was, after a while I thought about it, I was like, you know what, that was probably a really smart move. And the kid probably will have a great future. So he'll be might not be as electrifying as Mike Vick,
right,
but another lefty out there. And that's what them Dirty Birds miss now, because I played with Mike there. And, man, in Atlanta, they went crazy over that guy.
Hype.
Yeah.
It was hype.
So did you play with my boy Brian Finneran?
I sure did play with B. Finn. I seen him when I was down there last time.
Okay, so yeah, I do mornings with him, so I'm on with Finn every day. So I'll definitely tell him you said what's up. Yeah, I think it was also Arthur Blank realizing what happened at the end of the Matt Ryan era. He didn't want to go through that again. They spent one too many years not drafting a replacement. Then Mr. Blank went after Deshaun Watson, which didn't work out. They were going to sign him, and then Cleveland gave him all that guaranteed money where he didn't want to go anywhere. And it ruined the relationship, at least at that time, for Matt Ryan. And Ryan basically told him, get me out of here. I don't want to be here anymore. And then you got stuck for 2 years with Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder. And I think Mr. Blank realizing Rich McKay and all the guys in the upper management, we can't do this again. We might only have Kirk for 2 or 3 years if all goes well. And they wanted a succession plan. So they did it. The good thing is, because they were able to do things through trade and free agency here at the end of camp, you solidified some places. And you got to be one of the teams to beat. I think you can make some noise. You're not San Francisco. You're not Dallas. You're probably not Philadelphia. But I don't know that anybody else is much more loaded than the Falcons are at this point.
I agree. You also got a veteran quarterback who can help that young man. And I think Kirk Cousins is probably a perfect example for somebody that kind of helps to groom someone. You know, he's a really good man. He's really good. He got his money, but he's a really good person. And, he could help that kid along the way. So I think that was a smart pickup. And I think you're absolutely right. You know, what Arthur Blank probably was thinking the same thing. We can't make this mistake again.
John, Duane Brooks, resident athletic trainer here. Of course, my question is going to be about the health of Kirk Cousins. How's he looking right now? And how are his chances of starting week 1? How's that looking?
100% he'll be starting against the Pittsburgh Steelers in 8 days. There is zero question about that. I'll give you an example of how well he looks. And unfortunately, I'm a dude that's torn both my Achilles along the way, so I know how awful that recovery is. The difference is I was in my 40s and I wasn't an athlete. I wasn't a professional athlete. There was a play in training camp where Kirk threw an interception and the DB, as you're taught, taking it to the house. He's turning, he's sprinting, you're getting your full rep in. And Kirk Cousins could have stood there and let the young man run. He turns and runs 70 yards down the field at a full sprint and no ill effects. And everything we've seen at practice, I know they kept him out of games, and I'm glad they kept him out of games. I don't need him getting hurt in preseason. Ball comes out crisp, no ill effects. He's not limping around. He's not gimping. You know, it's get back, get your 5-7 step drop, step into the throw, and he's throwing it like the Kirk Cousins we know. So he'll be fine. Anytime with an Achilles, I'm not necessarily worried about re-rupture of the same Achilles, but as somebody who tore both of mine, there is a chance that the second one will rupture. It's just natural progression, putting too much weight on the other. So I hope, and I knock on wood when I say this, that none of that comes down. Same thing for Aaron Rodgers. We hope that doesn't happen to him, right. But Kirk should be fine, and he'll be there come 1 o'clock a week from this Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah, they have a really good medical staff there. Jake Fowler and his staff. I know Jake for a long time. He and I worked at Florida State together, so I didn't have a doubt. But I just wanted to hear from you, somebody that's there daily and right there in the city, based versus what I'm hearing.
Right.
What
I'm going to shake my head. You said Florida State. It's all about the U where I'm at, so we're not going to get into that one over here.
Well, you guys haven't beaten us in a while, even though we lost last week. We lost last week. But, I respect the U, but I hate Florida. So you guys play this weekend, and you against Florida this weekend, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm definitely rooting for Miami.
I'm driving down Friday. It's about a 4-hour drive from Atlanta down to Gainesville. So I'll be there. I don't miss any big Miami game. And I'll be there October 26th when Miami and Florida State play. I've been to that game probably now 20 out of the last 24 years. I just don't miss it unless something ends up happening.
A lot of people around college football just don't know how big those rivals in the state of Florida still are. Even like I worked at FSU in the 90s, and it was crazy. In my opinion, the road to the national championship had to go through the state of Florida in the 90s. Between the three schools.
Yeah.
And I still think the rivalries are still big, even though you got Michigan, Ohio State, and all these other Georgia, Alabama, all this stuff. But the Florida rivalries have always been big to me.
Yeah, it's nothing like it. I've never been to the Swamp, so I can't wait to see what that's like coming up on Saturday afternoon. The funny thing is how I learned the rivalry between the Falcons and the Saints. I never knew as an outsider. I grew up in South Florida, so I always tell people in the 80s, the only time I saw the Falcons in the old NFC West, they were getting their asses kicked by the 49ers, usually in the 4 o'clock game. Because remember, back then, there was no cable, there was no ESPN. It was, whoever's on at 4 o'clock, I'm watching. So when I moved here and I got a job with the Falcons doing radio, Dave Archer, who I'm really good friends with in West Durham, who've been doing play-by-play and color for them for 20-some-odd years, they were like, wait till we go to New Orleans. And I was like, is it that big? They said, trust me, those people hate us and we hate them. And now I'm married to a woman that was born and raised in New Orleans, who's a diehard Saints fan. So Sundays in our house when the Falcons and Saints play, she's 3 stories up. I'm down in the basement. We don't talk. We don't want to be around each other. But that hatred is real. And people don't understand that around the NFL. Like, they hate each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I bet y'all have some interesting side bets.
So the funny thing when we got married, when I first started dating her, she was like, I'm a Saints fan. And I was doing radio for the Falcons at the time on my radio show local here in Atlanta when I was working at 92.9 The Game before I went over to 680. I literally did a poll question for all our listeners. Should I date this girl that's a Saints fan? And she's listening to, we've only been on like 4 dates at the time. And she was like, are you really asking people, should we date? And I go, yeah, I want to get, and of course, like 90% were going, absolutely not. Then they saw pictures of her and they were like, yeah, she's way too hot for you. So you probably should date her because you're not going to get anything better. The good thing is 9 years later, we're still together. We're married. We got 3 beautiful kids, mixed family, but we love it. The only thing that gets contentious is every time we have a conversation about stuff and we get into football, she goes, my team didn't blow a 28-3 lead. Okay. All right, good.
Oh.
That's great to hear.
Oh.
Ouch.
Oh.
All right, well, John, we're going to get you out of here on this. Give us a record prediction for the Falcons this year.
11-6. 11-6. And I'm going to tell you, the first 3 weeks are going to be so telling for the Falcons. You open it against Pittsburgh. I'm going to say now that is a must-win game. You cannot be at home and lose that game. Part of it has to do with the city is so excited about having, a new quarterback, weapons on offense, new head coach, new direction, everything sold out. And I know a lot of them is going to be Steeler fans. Then you're on the road Sunday Night Football against the revamped Philadelphia Eagles, who want nothing more than to kick our ass. Then we got to turn around on, it's Monday night in Philly. Then we turn around Sunday night against the Chiefs. So those first 3, we've got to find a way to win at minimum 1 and maybe 2. As soon as you get done with that, you have 3 straight division games. I think it goes Saints, Bucks, Panthers. So if you can get out of that first 6-game stretch and you're 4-2, 3-3 at the worst, the back end of the schedule is really light. I think they go 11-6. I think they win the division. They're going to host a playoff game. First time in Mercedes-Benz Stadium they'll ever get a playoff game there. And then all bets are off. We know you get one game on a Sunday afternoon in January. That's what everybody looks forward to. They're not a Super Bowl team yet, but I think they're going to scare the hell out of some people this year.
All right. You can hear John on 680 in the Fan in Atlanta. Thank you for taking some time with us, sir. And hopefully Falcons Saint games this year go pretty interesting in your household.
And they absolutely will. Thanks for having me on. Anytime, let's chop it up. It's great to talk to all you guys.
All right. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Ed Block CourageCast. Our thanks to our great co-host, Ashley Ambrose, for joining us this week.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Round of applause. He made it through an entire podcast with us and didn't leave.
Yes.
Thanks, H.
All right, baby.
For DC, for DB, for Wally Williams, I am Dave Steinwedel. This has been the Ed Block CourageCast.